Hi everyone, and welcome back to our last episodes of Killing Money. This short version of our new and long episode of people who kill for money and life insurance. We know that not everyone has time to listen to a long episode, so we decided to split these episodes into shorter versions so you can easily listen. Today we are talking about Malcome Webster. Also, please be warned that this is a true crime episode, so please stop listening if this is not suitable for you. But let's start the tale of Malcome. Malcome was born in April 1959. His parents are Alexander Robert Webster, and his mother is named Odetta Blewitt. His father worked as a detective superintendent with the Metropolitan Police. As the head of the fraud department, his mother worked as a nurse. When Malcome was young, he lived a sheltered life. He would pretend to be sick as a child and would also pretend to faint every now and then. He even said that he had cancer when he was a teenager. He also developed a very dangerous hobby, fire starting. He would set so many fires, he would get the nickname Pyro, and his hobby continued as an adult. He did not have very much interest in school and left at the age of 15 when he got several different jobs. Some of them include binman, office clerk, nurse, and a driver. But let's move on to his first wife. He met Claire Morris in 1991 and in 1993, so 30 years ago. Now they got married. It was a traditional Scottish wedding, and from the looks of it, at some of the pictures from the wedding online, it looks like it was a good party, and everyone seemed like they were having a good time. No one could have guessed what would happen after, because everyone, it seemed like a good relationship and a good marriage. But then again, he had moved himself and Claire to Scotland while the family lived in London. So when he started drugging her, no one noticed and no one could stop him. In May 1995, he drugged her and put her in the car. Then he lowered her seat that she could not be seen if they were driving past anyone. Then he drove up to a location he had picked earlier, drove the car into a tree so it looked like she had crashed the car at a high speed. Then the car was set on fire. To everyone around, it looked like an accident. He got out of the car, and when the police and the fire department came around, he told them there was no one else in the car and he was alone. They later discovered the body in the car, and he was taken to the hospital and checked. They could not find any trauma or any bruises on him, but he insisted on using a neck brace. When the police spoke to him again, he told them that he had been wrong that day, that Claire had been in the car, but the police thought it might have been a trauma or a shock. Now this happened all in May. His wife died, and by the September he had 2 new girlfriends. And one of these was even the daughter of the person who completed the autopsy. But he checked in the 10 life insurance policy and everything inherited in Claire's will. And he bought a sailing boat and went to New Zealand. But his money did not last very long. It was only after 6 months that he decided he needed more money, and he found a new girlfriend, Felicia Drum. As soon as they were married, he started doing the same thing with Felicia as he did to Claire. He started drugging her and stealing money. He even continued drugging her after she got pregnant. On their honeymoon, she lost 36 hours after he drugged her. Another time she lost 16 hours. She also complained about having double vision. He showed her no mercy to her or his unborn child. But Malcome decided that murder was the only way he could get rich fast, and he took out several life insurance policies and waited for the perfect opportunity. Even back to his favorite hobby, fire starting. During their short marriage, he started 5 fires that we know of. In 1997, he set fire to the couch in the living room of their house. In 1999, he started a fire at the house that he and Felicia planned on buying. Then he would set fire to a chair in Felicia's parents' house, where they were all sleeping, including his then infant son. But this would not last for very long. Felicia was getting tired of his excuses and not having a house of their own. He then complained that the reason he was broke, that there was an issue at the bank, and he would never receive the money from his Scottish bank account. But she would have no more of his excuses, and they had to go to the bank. He decided that he was running out of time, and he wanted Felicia to find out that he was stealing money from her, so he needed to kill her now. So they got into the car and were on the way to the bank, and he claimed that the steering wheel got stuck and he started driving erratically. They ended up in a ditch. Luckily no one got hurt, but he started screaming at her, "Stay in the car." She didn't. She got out, and then he pretended to have a heart attack. While he was in hospital, she went to the bank and saw that he had stolen most of her money. She informed her family, and they started looking over the bank statement. They also found the life insurance policy he had taken out on her life. She then decided to go to the police and tell them everything. She told them about the money, the life insurance policy, an accident, and the fact that they found petrol in the car, a lighter, and a bunch of newspapers in the car. Everything you need to create a fire. They even took a blood test and hair test to check if she had been drugged, and they found out the fact that he had drugged her for a very long time of period. Based on the information, they decided to release 4 separate arrest warrants, and this is when he fled back to the UK. But he still needed money, but technically he was still married to Felicia. How was he going to gather life insurance if he cannot marry them? He came up with a plan. When he went back to Scotland, he met Simone Banjari, and he couldn't marry her. We don't know what he told her or what the reason, but we don't think he told her about Felicia. So he decided to tell her he had cancer and he was dying. So would she please leave everything in her will to him in case if she died first? To make his story more believable, he shaved his head, lost a lot of weight, and would leave the house to go to the hospital for treatment. However, when he left the house, he would just meet other women. But he would soon run out of time. Jane, Felicia's sister, was in England to hold a domestic abuse conference, and she met a police officer and told him everything about what happened to her sister. She was angry and wanted him caught. She told him everything, and they convinced her to stay away from Malcolm if she found him. They took an official statement and then reached out to Scotland and forwarded the information. When the police in Scotland learned that they were planning a long boat trip, they sent a letter to Simone. There is something called Osmond warning, and that include a police to reach out to an individual if they had a reason to believe that a person's life was in danger. And I think we can say that her life was definitely in danger at this time. They also reopened the case into the first death of his wife. And when they did, they reinvestigated Claire's family, and it must have been very hard for the family to hear that it might have been a murder and not an accident. They had to start the grieving process from the start again. This man, they thought, loved her, that lived with her, actually killed her. Luckily for them, when they looked over the accident again, they saw that the road markings did not match a high-speed crash. There was no braking patterns. There was not enough damage on the car. Also, witnesses claimed that it took up to 15 minutes for the first fire to start. And there was no damage to the car that would explain a fire, and not a fire that would take that long to start. You also had the people who witnessed him coming to the site before the accident, so it seems like he came there before to check out the area that killed her. And the pathologist, an incredible man, had done great work on her autopsy to keep some of the samples that were taken from her body, and they had enough to run a drug test on the tissue. And they found drugs in her system, just like the one he had done on Felicia. He was arrested in 2011, and in May he received his sentence, 30 years minimum, for the murder of Claire Morris, and the attempt of murder of Felicia Drum, and bigamous attempt to marry Simmons Banjari. Not so surprising, he claimed his innocence, and it's all a mistake. But we don't believe him, and we are all glad he's in jail. Hopefully, he will never be released. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. Come back for the next episode. Bye.